From Mexico, let's come home to the United States and a Black American folktale from the South called Wiley and the Hairyman. I've heard many versions of this story, and they've all helped shape the way I tell it today. So now for you, Wiley and the Hairyman. Once there was a boy named Wiley. Wiley lived with his mother. Wiley thought his mother was the best person on earth. He thought she was the prettiest person, the nicest person, the bravest person, the smartest person. And she was a conjurer. That meant she knew magic. And each year that Wiley grew up, his mother taught him some new magic. Now, Wiley had one job, and that was every night he'd go out into his woods with his 3 dogs and his axe, and he'd go out and chop up firewood for the fire. Now, Wiley's dogs had very peculiar names. The first dog was named Barney McCabe. Second dog, Doodly Doo. Third dog, Sue Boy. And Wiley always took these dogs with him in case he ran into the Hairyman. Now, the Hairyman was covered from head to toe with hair. Yeah, that's why he's called the Hairyman. He didn't have feet like you and me. He had hooves like a cow. And for his eyes, all he had were these 2 red beady dots. And what he would do is he'd hang out in the woods and wait for a little boy or girl to come walking by, and then he'd grab them, take them with him, and never see them again. But the Hairyman was scared of one thing, and that was dogs. So Wiley always took his dogs. So it's one night, Wiley tied up the dogs, had his axe, was going out into the woods, when his mother said what she said every night. She said, "Now, Wiley, remember, if the dogs run away from you, come back home. And Wiley, if you find a tree to chop, make sure you tie the dogs to a tree real close to that one. You got that, Wiley?" "Okay, Mom." So Wiley goes out into the woods when suddenly this little baby suckling pig goes running by, and the pig goes like this. Wee, 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 wee. The dogs see the pig, and the dogs go, "Arr! Arr, 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 arr." Start running after the pig. Wiley's running with the dogs for as long as he can, but he can't keep up with the dogs, and finally the ropes tear out of his hand. Arr, arr, arr. Wiley wasn't laughing, because Wiley was now all, Should he go back home? Yeah, that's what his mom said, right? But then he started thinking, you know what? I've been chopping wood for years. I've never seen the Hairyman. I think it's just a story, the Hairyman. Yeah, right. So Hairyman goes out, Wiley, goes out to this tree, and he starts chopping the tree. And when he chops the tree, it makes a very special sound. It goes like this. Wickety-whack. Now, I need you all to make that sound, but only when the axe hits the tree, okay? So watch very closely. Here we go. Nice. God, they're smart in Berkeley, aren't they? Beautiful. So keep up with me, but only when the axe hits the tree. Okay, here we go. When the axe hits the tree, okay? Axe, tree, hit. Smart Alec. He looks out in the woods, he sees the 2 red beady dots staring at him. It's the Hairyman. Wiley takes the axe, throws it up in the air, and he climbs up the tree. And the Hairyman comes walking up to the tree. "Hey, Wiley, why don't you just come on down here?" What do you think Wiley said? No. Well, Wiley, I gotta find some way to get you. Some way to get you down. Looky here, an axe. I guess I'll just chop you down. So he picked up the axe and he started chopping at the tree. And what sound did it make, everybody? Each time the axe hit the tree, wood chips would come flying out. Wiley could tell it was gonna take about 3 more chops and that tree was gonna fall down. He had to think of something fast. Well, his mother was teaching him magic. Maybe a magic spell would work. So he went like this. Wood chips fly, go back into that tree. Can you say that with me, please? Wood chips fly, go back into that tree. And sure enough, the wood chips, they froze in midair and went right back into the tree like this. Yeah. Hairyman was getting nowhere but tired because each time he chopped at the tree, whickety-whack, the wood chips would go right back in. Finally, he just put down the axe because he was so tired. And the Hairyman decided to wait for Wiley to fall asleep and fall out of the tree. Wiley knew that's what the Hairyman was doing, and he knew he couldn't stay up there all night, so he said, Hairyman, I know I can't stay up here all night, so I tell you what, if you let me say one last prayer, then I'll come on down. What do you say? Hairyman was so nasty, he didn't know anything about praying. He said, go on, pray, whatever that is. Wiley said, okay, Hairyman, here's my prayer. Hope you like it. Goes like this. Oh, Lord. Barney McCabe, Dooley-doo, and Sue Boy, your master's calling you. He was calling for the dog. And from out of the woods, the dogs came and they went like this. Arr, 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 right up to the Hairyman. The Hairyman went like this. Whoa, and he hightailed in the woods. Wiley jumped down from the tree, ran home, and he told his mother everything that happened. Oh, mom, little pig, what are you talking about? I said, which is like, oh, everybody, next time you ran away home. His mom said, that's wonderful, Wiley. You've tricked the Hairyman. You know, they say that if you trick the Hairyman 3 times, he'll never bother you again. Now, Wiley, remember what I say. If the dogs run away from you, come back home. And Wiley, if you find a tree to chop, make sure you tie up the dogs to the tree real close to that one. You got that, Wiley? Wiley said, okay, Mom. So Wiley goes back into the woods, and he finds a tree, but it's really far away to the one he wants to chop. Should he go to another tree? Yeah. But Wiley thought, oh, this one's close enough. Kinda. Sorta. Oh, whatever. Wiley. Start chopping at the tree. Just then you heard the dogs going, arr, 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 arr. That meant that they smelled the Hairyman. Wiley put down the axe, went to untie the dogs, but the Hairyman, yeah. And the dogs couldn't get at the Hairyman because of the ropes. So they were going like this. Arr, arr, arr. They looked at the Hairyman, he said, see you later. And he climbed back up the... Hey, Hairyman, I hear you're a conjurer, you can do magic. Well, no one could do magic as good as my mom. No one could do magic as good as me. Wiley said, I'd love to see you do some magic. I'd love to see you turn yourself into something tall, like a giraffe. I can do that. The Hairyman twisted himself around, stretched out his arms and his legs and his neck until he became a tall giraffe, so tall he could stare at Wiley in the top of the tree. He turned his head and his neck and he looked at Wiley and said, what do you think of that, Wiley? Wiley said, oh, that's pretty good, Hairyman. But can you turn yourself into something small, like a mouse? I could do that. He flipped himself over, scrunched himself up, and he became a little mouse. Wiley jumped out of the tree, picked up that mouse by the tail, put him in a sack, the croaker sack, tied up that sack real good and tight, ran over to the river and threw it in the river. He was done with the Hairyman. He turned around to go back to the tree and there was the Hairyman. And Wiley said, hey, how'd you get out of the sack? He said, Wiley, I can turn myself into anything. So I turned myself into the wind, and I blew myself out of the sack. Wiley said, oh, that's pretty good, Hairyman. See you later. And he ran past the Hairyman and climbed back up the tree. Hey, Hairyman, if you could turn yourself into something like the wind that we can't see, does that mean you can actually make things disappear? Like, I bet you can't make my shirt disappear. I can do that. Wiley's shirt disappeared, and he snapped one finger. Everyone snapped one finger. And Wiley's shirt and he was cold. Okay, Hairyman, you made my shirt disappear, which means you could probably make the rope that's holding up my pants disappear. But I bet you can't make all the rope in all the world disappear. I can do that. All the rope in all the world disappear. He snapped two fingers. Everyone snapped two fingers. And the rope that was holding up Wiley's pants disappeared, and his pants fell down. Ooh. But what other rope disappeared? And the dogs went, arr, 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 right up to the Hairyman. The Hairyman went, whoa, and he hightailed it in the woods. Wiley jumped down from the tree, ran home, and he told his mother everything that happened. Oh, my mom, that's like, oh, no, I said, we could do this. Oh, what is that? I said, but you could have that. I just can't turn a little boo. I just call it. That's what I ran away home. His mom said, that's wonderful. You tricked the Hairyman 2 times. All you got to do is trick him. But Wiley, this time he's going to be mad. He's not going to wait for you this time. He's going to come here. So you better leave it to me. Wiley finally learned to listen to his mom. And you know what? It doesn't matter how old we get. We have to find those people in our lives who we should listen to, that are always pointing us in the right direction. And for Wiley, it was his mom. He said, what do you want me to do, Mom? She said, this is what I want you to do. I want you to go in the barn. I want you to get a baby suckling pig. I want you to get that pig. I want you to go upstairs. I want you to put it in your bed. I want you to cover it with a blanket. Then I want you to go down to the cellar and wait for me. Now, it sounded strange to Wiley, but his mother had always pointed him into the right direction, so she must be up to something good. So Wiley went into the barn. He got a little baby pig, went upstairs, put it in his, covered it with a blanket, went down to the cellar. And who do you think came to the house that night? Yep. Now, for this knock, I need a big boom, boom sound when my fist hits the door, and we want all of Berkeley to hear us. Are you ready? Here we go. Get ready. Oh, we're not there yet. You got the idea, though. Boom, boom, boom. Yeah. Now, if I heard a sound like that, I'd be frightened. But Wiley's mother, she had a wonderful trait. She wasn't afraid of. She knew fear is just in your head. Evening, Hairyman. Evening, Wiley's mom. That was her name. Evening, Wiley's mom. I've come here for your baby. She said, you can't have my baby. You don't give me your baby, I'm gonna turn your house into toothpicks. She said, okay, you can have my baby. He's up in his bed. And the Hairyman walked up the stairs. Pulled back the blanket. That ain't your baby boy, Wiley, that's a baby pig. She said, you didn't ask for my baby boy, Wiley, you asked for my baby. And that baby pig has been with me since it was born. So it's like a baby to me too. So I suggest you take that baby of mine and get on out of here. The Hairyman had been tricked for the 3rd time. He grabbed a hold of that baby pig. He ran out the door, and you know what? He's never been seen again. And that's the story of Wiley and the Hairyman.